Hi guys, this is Vineet, and in this video we will discuss about how you can create new databases using backup and restore option in SQL Server. So there are a few points which you need to consider. You can create a new database by restoring a backup of an existing database. And the database can be of any previous versions of SQL Server or any new version. And the second point is that backup taken with the new version of SQL Server cannot be restored on the older version of SQL Server. For example, if you have taken backup using version 2019 of SQL Server, that backup cannot be restored on the earlier version of SQL Server like SQL Server 2016. And the third point is that if we have backups of master model and MSDB databases, which are basically system databases, and if these backups are taken on earlier version of SQL Server, they cannot be restored on the newer version of SQL Server. So for example, if we had taken backup of master model and MSDB databases on SQL Server 2016, those backups cannot be restored on the new version of SQL Server like SQL Server version 2019. So alright, in this video I will show you demo how you can take a backup and restore it to a different server. So give me a minute. One more point to consider, that when you use the backup and restore process to basically copy database from one instance of SQL Server to another instance of SQL Server, the platform of source and destination computer can be any. For example, if we have taken, we can do a backup of certain database on SQL Server running on a Linux machine, and we can restore that database on a SQL Server running on a Windows machine. So that can be done. And basically there are general steps to do backup and restore. So basically we back up the source database. So on this machine I am running basically two instances of SQL Server. One is the default instance and another one is named instance, and named instance 1 on this computer. So let me connect to my instances. So localhost is my default instance and it has a database Northwind, and at the same time I have another instance running on the same machine named instance 1, and I'm connecting to it as well. So if I expand the databases section on the instance 1, I can see that there are no databases present over here. So the first step is to back up the, for example, if we want to copy this database Northwind from this default instance to instance 1, I need to take a copy of this database. So I need to take a backup of this database. So okay, so this will be a source machine for my backup, or maybe you can say source computer for my backup. So I'm right clicking on Northwind database. So basically the first thing is we need to connect to the both the instances. So here I'm connected both to the default instance of a SQL Server, and I'm also connected to the named instance 1 of SQL Server on the same machine. Okay, so first we take a backup of this database, then we restore the database over here. And once we restore the database to a destination computer, it automatically creates all the database files. But as we are using the same machine both for backup and restore, so the files we are backing up should not be restored on at the same location where they are currently. So if we want to see where are the files for this database are currently stored, we can go to its properties. Let's expand the properties window. If we go to the file section, it will show you the location where the Northwind MDF and the LDF or primary or log data file are stored. So this is the location: C program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL 15, MS SQL Server, MS SQL data. Both log and data files are stored over here. So if we are storing it to a same instance running on the same machine, we need to specify a different location. Alright, so give me a minute. So yeah, we were talking about the file paths earlier. So there are some points to be considered before you restore the database files. So when we restore the database, it automatically creates the database file needed by the restored database. And by default, these files are created by SQL Server during the restoration process. And it uses the same names and same path as it was defined in the backup files from the original database on the source computer. Optionally, what we can do during the restore is that when we are restoring this particular database, we can specify a device mapping, or we can change the file names or path of a restoring database. And this is required in the following situation. The situation we are currently in requires that, because we are running both the instances on the same machine. If it was a separate machine, then there was no need to change the path. But yeah, here we are using both the instances on the same machine, so path change is required if you want to keep a separate copy of a database on a instance 1. So changing path and names are required in other situations as well. So some of these situations are one another situation can be like, for example, if we have if here we have files on the C drive on the source computer, but for example, if these files were on E drive instead of C drive, and my destination computer does not have E drive, in that case a path change is required. So this is one of the instance. Or maybe there can be a situation where our target location do not have sufficient space. So maybe if it was a separate computer, say this is not an instance one, but this is altogether a separate server, SQL server running on a separate server, and we have a lack of space on the same location, like C drive, like this particular location C drive. If we have a lack of space on the target computer, then we can't restore the database files on the same path. So in those cases, change in the file path or file path is required. And the third situation can be, so a third scenario can be maybe if a Northwind database already exists, database with the same name exists on an instance one. For example, if Northwind already exists over there and we want to copy and restore this database under a different name, so under that case name change is required. Okay, so basically if we are reusing a database name that exists on the restored destination and any of it file, it's named the same as the database file in the backup set, one of the following occurs. So I was discussing one of the problems that can occur. For example, if we have a Northwind database that already exists on instance 1, and if we try to take a backup of this Northwind database under the default instance and try to restore the database on this destination instance, then that restore operation will overwrite the files, the database files, if we use the default file paths. And moreover, if we cannot write on an existing file, a restore error would occur at that time. And basically, to avoid the errors before the restore operation, we can check the file paths during the restore process. So let me give you a brief overview how you can take a backup. So you can right click on the database and there is a task option. Under that you can select the backup option to take the backup of this database. So here we are on the general tab and we are taking the backup of database Northwind, and we are taking the full backup. We'll talk about different backup types in our different video, but for now we are taking the backup of full database. And and we need to specify the backup component, which is the database, and where we want to backup we need to specify either the URL or the disk. For now we are taking the backup on the disk, so this is the location of the backup. So it is taken under the backup directory, and the backup name, file name is northwind.backup, and let's try to hit OK to take the backup. So backup is done for this database, and let's click on OK. And now if you want to restore that database backup of Northwind database to a different instance of SQL Server, we need to right click on the database. We need to select, let's try this, so give me a sec. Okay, when we right click on the database, we get the restore database option. So let's select restore database. It will open up a dialog box, and basically we need to specify the backup file, so for which we want to do a restore. So we can select a device, and under that we can select file, and we can click on add, and let's see where the backups are stored. So it is showing me the instance 1. Let me try to change the location. So my default instance is MS SQL Server, and under that let me see where my files are. So MySQL, they're not under data. Give me a sec. So it should be under backup. So I've selected backup as the location, but it is not showing me any files as of yet for this. Let me try to open a different folder. Under that we do not see any file. Let me try to locate a file. In the meantime, I'm pausing this video. Okay, so I've located the Northwind backup file over here, and this is the location where it's stored, although it was not showing it to me over there in SQL Server. So let's see, will it show us now? So let's go back and click on the add button, and let's go to the correct location to see. Maybe earlier we do not had privileges or the permissions to check that folder, that's why it was not showing me up the file. Now let's check this time. So it should be in the backup folder, but somehow it's not showing me that file over here. Let me try to see. Okay, it is not showing me. Let me try to locate the file again. C drive, Microsoft SQL Server, and then the instance name, MS SQL Server, MS SQL, not under data but under backup, but somehow it's not showing me the file, and the location is correct, but it is still not showing me the file. Let me try to reopen everything. So let's right click on the database and do a restore once again, and let's select a device type file and go to the correct location. Somehow it's not showing me file over there, so let me do one thing. Let me copy and paste this file onto desktop. So I'm taking a backup on desktop. So I'll try to restore this backup from desktop. So let's go back to SQL Server and try to add the backup, and this time let me select users and my user account. It is not showing me the desktop. Let's try to store file directly in the C drive and try to then restore the backup. So I'm cutting the file and pasting onto C drive directly. Okay, I have pasted the file. Let's try to see if if we are able to access it from C drive. So if we select C drive, I do see file over there. But if I go to program files, Microsoft SQL Server, and that SQL Server default instance, and MySQL and backup, it does not show me the file. Okay, let's try to get that file from C drive. So I'm taking an Northwind backup database file, clicking on OK, and again clicking on OK. So it is giving me some details on the file regarding when was the it is giving me some details of the file, like when the backup was taken. So backup was taken on 22nd December, which is today at 1:25 a.m. my time. And in the below section, it is giving us what all backup sets we want to restore. So we have a full backup set, and the database backup type is full, and Northwind is the database name. And let me see if it gives us the option where it is restoring the file. So we can select that by using the files option. So it is giving us options like what was the original location or the original file name. So it was C program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL Server, default instance, under data, Northwind MDF, and these were the files. And the new location would be this. So it is selecting the same location as the new location, but we don't want that. We want to restore the file under specific instance. So let me click on this and try to see if I can change the location to instance 1 under MySQL data. And I need to specify the file name as well. So file name, I'm using the same name, but I can definitely rename this file if I want to. So north WND, okay, and .mdf is the extension. So let's click on OK. So now we can see the path is changed to instance 1. Let's do the same for the log data file. So I need to select the new path, and under MS SQL I'm restoring it to the data folder, and I need to mention the name of the new file, which I can rename as well. So I'm specifying the LDF extension for log data file. So I can see that both the locations are changed, where the backup is denoting the default location from where the backup was taken. So I have totally changed the location for both data and log files. So let's click on OK, and restore will be done, and this restore will be under a different location. So if I go to databases, I can see under instance 1 I can see a Northwind database backup is restored, and I can check the location of these new files. Okay, so the new location is C program files, Microsoft SQL Server, and the instance 1 is the new location. Under that MS SQL data. Let's give continue, and I can see that both the Northwind files are created over here. One is the main data file and one is the log data file. So these two are the files, and one is the primary data file and another is transaction log file, and these are created just now at 1:44. Timing is matching, and there's a separate location. Alright, let's close it and go back to SQL Server. And so what we have discussed is, I have shown you how you can take a backup of a database and how to restore that database under different location or separate instance of a SQL Server running on the main machine. You can do the same for an instance running on some other machine. Follow the same steps. So basically we have shown you how you can take backup and restore the same backup to a different instance running on the same computer. But in some scenarios, computer the destination computer cannot be on the same network. It may be on some other network or totally disconnected from this network basically, or this system. In those situations we cannot like to backup and restore directly. What we need to do is we need to copy the files and restore those files, or maybe we can take a copy of the backup file, copy that backup file over to the destination computer, and that restore for that from that backup file. This is what we can do. So while restoring the database, I've shown you how you can change the database path on the file location, how you can change the full file path where you are restoring the database. Similarly, I had shown you that you can specify a separate database name if you want to restore that database under a different name. So guys, we are done with this video, and in this video we will discuss about how you can backup and restore a database. And please subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon to get regular updates regarding the future videos that I will post. And do like this video. If you really like it, hit on the like button, and please share this video with your friends. And I thank you for all your time, and you have a nice day ahead.